One crisp fall morning, I was standing in front of a mirror in a hotel room getting ready for the day when my phone rang. And when I looked down and saw who it was, I was surprised to see the person on the other end because it's someone I don't talk to very often. And initially, I felt really excited to talk to them, but my excitement quickly moved to nervousness because I wondered if this person was calling because something was wrong. And I was right. They were calling to tell me that a dear friend and colleague of theirs had just confided something very vulnerable to them, and they weren't exactly sure what to do with it. And they thought I might know how to help. And the reason they thought that was because we had recently had a conversation where I had told this friend that my husband was gay and yet had decided that he would like to stay married to me. And this colleague, who was a religious man and an educator in a religious career, had just told my friend that he was gay and having an affair, and he didn't know how to face this. And so my friend was calling to ask if maybe my husband would talk to this person in hopes that maybe he could help and support him in ways that my friend didn't know if he could. And my heart went out to this person. It went out to both him and to his wife, who did not know what was going on in his life. Because I've been the wife of a gay man for a long time, and I understand the fear and the feeling of maybe I'm asking my partner to do too much by staying in this marriage. And so I felt torn as I listened. And as a somewhat closing comment at the end of our conversation, my friend said to me, I can't imagine how difficult it would be to remain faithful to my wife when everyone was telling me that I deserved to have an affair. So when my friend first said this, it really caused an internal struggle because I had grown up believing that people who have affairs are bad. Infidelity is like the worst thing you can do. And all of a sudden, he was saying this in a way that maybe had compassion for people in these circumstances. And I began to think about how in a heterosexual marriage, most people are quick to condemn affairs. They're quick to say that this is not the answer, even if they can see the difficulties. Yet, in a mixed orientation marriage, people are more apt to take the side of the person having an affair and to sympathize with them. And that caused me some internal struggle because I am married to a gay man. So, of course, I really want fidelity or at least a knowledge of what I'm choosing. And yet, I could see my friend's point that people in my husband's situation who are married to someone of the opposite sex, yet are attracted to the same sex, are in a real dilemma because they have a choice that they have to make. And they are pushed up against a two-choice dilemma that most people don't have to face. If you're listening today and you're gay or lesbian and married to someone of the opposite sex and you've had an affair, the first thing I want to say is this: I can understand why. Not because I think it's the right choice, but because I think you're living inside a very painful dilemma. You can genuinely love your spouse. You may love your children. You may not want things to change in your family. And at the same time, you may long to know what it's like to be desired by someone of the same sex. You may wonder if you'll ever get to have that experience or if you're sacrificing too much. And so it's understandable that you would want to solve it by trying something different. But the reality of an affair is that it only sustains the idea that we can have two things at the same time, that we can avoid making a choice. It facilitates the idea that we can postpone the grief of what it is to choose. Because when we make a choice, there's always loss on the other side. Either one of those choices is going to facilitate loss if you make it. And so if you're not making that choice, you don't have to grieve either future. You don't have to risk losing the life you've built. And you don't have to tell your spouse the truth. And it may be deeply, deeply understandable, but I don't think it's honorable. Because when you choose to have an affair, you're not making a private decision. you made a choice to get married at some point. And once you did that, every choice you make impacts that person. And you can no longer make those decisions in a vacuum. And each time you choose to step outside of your relationship for a relationship with someone else, you're making a choice for them as well. It's really just a choice to open up your marriage without someone else's permission. And it's a person who deserves to have a say in if they want a marriage like that. Now, I don't say this to shame you. I've never found shame to be useful in confronting ourselves regarding the mistakes that we make in life. I say this to invite you into your own integrity, into the person that you want to be. If there's any part of you that feels the truthfulness of this message, I invite you to begin being honest with yourself about the impact of your choices. And I invite you to be honest with your spouse. And I invite you to ask yourself if this is something you can continue to justify doing. I'm grateful for the perspective that my friend offered me that day, the perspective shift that he offered me so that I could view this with compassion and accountability. Because I don't think the right answer is to justify an affair, and I don't think the right answer is to shame the person who's chosen that. If this is something that resonates with you today, and you would like further help walking this path, that is my passion. It's what I do. I use my experiences to help those on this path to walk it with integrity, and I'm more than happy to help you. You can find more information on my website, www.complexcouplescoaching.com. I appreciate you listening, and I'll see you next time on the Complex Couples Podcast.